said the matriarch of this choir. Well, that's a good word, a bad word. But anyway, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Flanders family reunion in '98. I talked to Jeffrey and I tried to get when we had our last one. He thinks, and I think it's about 15 years ago. So let's don't wait another 15 years. It really makes me feel good to see all of you here. And it makes me feel real good to be in this church. Not this building, but this church. My whole life, and as you know, Mother dear and Pop lived by the principles of this church, and we were brought up here. And today I want to read you something so you'll know where you came from, and it was the beginning of all of us. Mother came to Scotland to teach in a private school out in the country somewhere, and Pop was working for, it was quite a big concern. It was a cotton buyer. And they met at a Valentine party. Some of you have heard this story, I'm sure. And she wrote, and I'm going to put this little book out. I think you all want to see it, 1900. He has notes in here, but she says at this party, the man asked the girl a question, and she replied, "We were partners on Valentine's Day, 1902. And this is what he wrote. "Would you come to my retreat? I'm so very lonely. You are so very sweet. And I am so very homely." And she replied, "Hope on, faint heart, and cease repining. Behind the cloud, a girl is shining." And then she wrote, "We were married September the 3rd, 1902. Y'all have a good time.
Well, as you just heard from Sister, that's where we all came from, 96 years ago on Valentine's Day. Mother dear and Pop met. And we're all here today because of that. The oldest member here and the youngest member here are both named Emily. Hold up the little Emily, please. That's Emily Grace Davis. It's almost 6 months old. And our Emily, sister, was named for Mother dear's mother. Is that correct?
That's right.
Mother dear's mother, Emily Killian?
Norwood.
Emily Norwood. And there are two more Emilys here as well. There's Emily Ann Marion Donnelly and Emily Jane Mann Davidson. So we've got the Emilys here. 69 years to the day after Mother dear and Pop met at this Valentine party, Sim Davidson was born, who is the father of one of these Emilys. But this Emily is not the newest Flanders. There is a brand new Flanders named Matthew Reed Flanders, who is Spear and Gail's grandson. He's almost a month old, and we have pictures to prove it, which we'll pass around. Mother dear was a teacher. How many people in this room have taught school? I mean, it has been throughout our family. I just want to say that I did the letter writing, but the work for a reunion like this falls on the home folks, of course. Jane and Lamar Davidson and Sister have done many, many things to make all of this happen. By their computers, by their rummaging around in attics and finding letters. We have an artifacts table, and other people I see passing around photos. And Norwood Davidson, our family historian, has really done so much to make this day happen. You'll see as the day goes along Norwood's contribution. And when you leave, you'll be taking with you cups that are sort of a special surprise that Jane arranged for us. So take note of those on the table. all through this program, we hope people will stop and talk. So does anybody have anything to say right now? Anybody want to introduce anybody right now? Well, then feel free throughout to stop and talk. And if we're not talking loudly enough, just cup your hand to your ear, since we're all getting there. The next thing is George is going to read the next agenda item, which is a letter from Norwood to Chester, when Chester had an emergency appendectomy in 1928, back when it was a pretty serious thing to have, and he was in Noble's Infirmary in Atlanta for weeks and weeks. We have a whole scrapbook of letters to Chester while he was trying to recover. So George, will you come read that?
I can just see Dad when he sat down to pen this letter out. June 13th, 1928. Dear Chex, I don't think you treated me exactly fair. I told you I wanted to operate on you with my knife, but you slipped off while I was in Brunswick. I could have cut you and it would have cost you nothing. Had my knife sharp. Your pig is doing fine. Seems to be growing fast. Cow's looking good. Hurry up and get well, cause the whirlhole's waiting for you. Love, Norwood. Short, sweet, and to the point.
We have the only letter that we know of that exists from Pop that he wrote to Chester while Chester was in the hospital. He said, hurry home, I want to see you and your mom. Because Pop apparently was crazy about Mother Dear. And she was, Nordy's going to read for us, and it was first read by Mother Dear on WSB radio in 1939 on the Penelope Penn radio show, gave a history of Scotland. Nordy found out she was on the program about 5 minutes ago. So.
Yeah, and if I'd gotten this email yesterday, I probably would have shown up. And this one isn't short and sweet. It was read on Friday, July the 7th, 1939, WSB Radio in Atlanta. Thank you, Penelope Penn, and good morning, friends. From childhood on, so many of us have sung "Scotland's burning, Scotland's burning," that we, the citizens of Scotland, are grateful to riches for this opportunity to remind others that though our Scotland has indeed been burned out 3 times, she has never been burned up. One of the many enterprises the Civil War interrupted in Georgia was the construction of the Macon-Brunswick Railroad. It has been completed as far as Hawkinsville when the war broke out, but construction was resumed immediately after the war and was completed in 1869. Stations along the new railroad were designated by numbers, and what is now Scotland was then number 10 and a half. It was populated almost entirely by Scotch Presbyterians, and when a name was to be chosen for this town, it was called Mackville, in honor of the large number of Macks living here. Aiming them were Macmillan, MacArthur, McRae, McDermott, McLennan, McCall, McLaughlin, McNeil, McKay, McAllen, McDuffie, and others. The names Macville and McCrae, sister towns only 5 miles apart, were so much alike it caused much confusion in the mail, so the postal authorities asked that one be changed. It was decided that Mackville should be changed, and the citizens chose Scotland because their ancestors came here from Scotland. Mr. Hector Macmillan, who has a large number of descendants living in this section now, gave land for a church to build on. This was the Presbyterian church called the White House Church. It also served as a schoolhouse. Would that have been the schoolhouse up on the hill? As the Presbyterians became a weaker denomination, Mr. Macmillan helped build a Methodist church. It was used as a union church then. This friendship between the churches existed throughout the history of Scotland. The Methodist and Baptist have Sunday school together now, meeting at the 2 churches on alternative Sundays. The town council donated several $100s, and built the church, and the Masons also helped using the second story of the completed building as their hall. In later years, Mrs. Fanny Kitchen gave a talk before the Masons, which resulted in their deeding their claim to the Methodist Church. This church was remodeled in 1923 and is now a lovely modern brick building. Dr. J.W. Nelle, retired, is one of the few living old-fashioned horse and buggy doctors who in that day drove one buggy 25,000 miles, a distance which would encircle the globe. He came to Scotland in 1888 as a brand new doctor, where he met and fell in love with one of the most beautiful young ladies in the state, Miss Sally Graham. They became engaged and wanted to be married Christmas night, 1890, in the Baptist church, but it was only under construction and far from completion. However, that was a minor obstacle to the ambitious young doctor in love. He donated money and crews, and they worked day and night. And on Christmas night, they were married in the Baptist church by the presiding elder of the Methodist church, the late Reverend J.D. Anthony, affectionately known as the Bishop of the Wiregrass. On Christmas night of the next year, they will be able to celebrate their golden wedding anniversary. The railroad followed the natural watershed between the Ocmulgee and Oconee rivers. The early settlers settled among these rivers because they were navigable and boats were used to transport supplies at this time. Jacksonville, located on the Ocmulgee River, was the county site of this Telford County. This territory was covered in virgin pine forest, and the chief occupations of early settlers were the manufacturer of naval stores and cutting and drafting timber down the streams to Darien, where large sawmill owners bought all they could to be carried to them. Then the timbermen concluded their business in Darien. When the timbermen concluded their business in Darien, they went by boat to Brunswick, where they entrained for stations nearest to their homes. Those returning to Scotland arrived here about 1 o'clock in the morning. The merchants opened their stores at this hour and were ready to serve their customers, who bought enough supplies to last several months, then left at daylight for their homes in wagons, hacks, on horsebacks, and on foot, many walking as far as 30 miles. The Little Ocmulgee River, popularly known as Gum Swamp, follows the outer edge of Scotland, and thousands of logs are rafted down it then. The high banks of this clear water stream, in which abound a great variety of fish, shaded by massive oaks, make a paradise for fishermen, campers, and picnickers. The old swimming hole is still a haven for old and young alike, both from here and nearby towns. Scotland has been swept away by fire 3 times. But from the ashes of each fire, more modern homes and buildings have been built. For a long number of years, Scotland was the chief cotton market of this territory. R.L. Kitchen and Company, operating the largest mercantile business between Macon and Brunswick, and for 2 years in succession, his cotton buyers signed checks each year for more than $1 million for cotton bought. This business was swept away by fire, but a more unusual one, rolling stores, has taken its place. The rolling store is a store built on a truck which follows the regular route and schedule. These stores carry merchandise to the farmer's door, where they trade for almost any product that the farmer grows, many things for which they have never had a market. One store on one day in August 1937 did $75 worth of business, of which only $8.75 was cash. The remainder was produce. One week, 3 rolling stores operated by a firm here carried 1,000 dozen eggs to market, and the following week, the same 3 stores carried 1,100 eggs to market. This quantity of eggs would, of course, have been many hundreds of dozens more eggs than this and adjoining counties could have consumed. The large amount of corn brought in by these stores necessitated the building of a grain elevator to store and preserve the corn. This meal is said to be of unusual quality and is already being sold in more than 20 counties in this section. Scotland is the headquarters of the United Rolling Store Association of Georgia. We also have a locally owned hardwood wholesale candy company here and district offices of 2 watermelon associations. Scotland has an accredited junior high school located on the hill overlooking the town. Land for the school was given by Dr. Nelle. It is lovely, modern, well-kept brick building. Power and lights for the town are furnished by Georgia Power Company, while a hydraulic ram forces water from a flowing artesian well into a tank to furnish the town's water system. In 1920, an oil seepage was discovered within the town limits. A sample was sent to the state geologist who sent engineers here to investigate. They announced that a real oil seepage had been found in Georgia. Nothing has been developed yet, although people came from far and near to see it and to buy leases on the land. 70% of the residents here own their homes, and there are radios in 70% of the homes. A highway is under construction through Scotland connecting the Jefferson Davis Memorial Highway with State Route 27. Sugar Creek Mansion, the lovely new home of former Governor Eugene Talmadge, is located on the highway 2 miles from Scotland and has centered the attention of the state on this section. But for a sample of real Southern hospitality, you'll have to come and see Scotland for yourself. Goodbye, and I have enjoyed being on your program this morning, Penelope.
You can see that Scotland was more up and coming in 1939. Here's the real hit of our reunion, I hope. Norwood has put his heart and soul and many hours into this, I believe. So I'll turn it over to you.
Well, it is a real honor to get to do this today. We've collected pictures for years. We've been through attics, as Peggy said, scrapbooks, basements, the whole 9 yards. And I want to apologize right now if I've left anybody out of the slideshow. We did not go with the younger generations. None of you here, other than my grandmother, Emily Flanders Nairn, will be in the slideshow. We all pretty much know what each other looks like, but today I'm going to show you what your great-great-great-grandparents look like. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as Peggy said, if anyone has an interjection or wants to add to the show, feel free to jump right in, okay? Starting out, this is Judge Samuel Dodridge Keller. This is our great-great-great-grandfather, little Emily here. This would be her 4th great-grandfather. He was the first judge of Houston County. He was born in 1823. This would be Mother Dear's grandfather. If that gives y'all an idea of the age of this. This was originally an old painting that hung in the Norwood home, and Uncle Chester was smart enough to take a snapshot of these 2 portraits. I don't know where they are to this day, but we have the snapshot blown up and made into a slide. If this painting exists, it would be over 150 years old. We'll move right along. This is Grandma Keller. This is Judge Keller's wife. She is our connection to Benjamin Franklin. You may have heard over the years that we're related to Benjamin Franklin. Well, Grandma Keller's our connection. She was Sophia Franklin Baskin Keller. And she was born the same year Grandpa Keller was. Lucy is modeling Grandma Keller's brooch today. If any of you have noticed, it was made by Tiffany & Company 150 years ago, and she was gracious enough to be the model for today. But that's Grandma Keller, and weren't they an attractive couple, don't you think? Okay, moving along, Dad. This is Grandpa Keller at an older age. Something really interesting, the vest that he's wearing is on display at my home this afternoon for the open house. Mother Dear well as myself and many of the rest of us, we're pack rats. We've kept everything, and to have this brooch and Grandpa Killen's vest and numerous other items and artifacts is really an accomplishment, I think. Okay, Dad. This is their home. It is still, can you focus in a little better? Yeah. This home is still standing today. It's the oldest house in Perry, Georgia. Grandpa Killen built it. It was in a plantation. You can see the circular drive that went across the front of the house. It is the oldest house in Perry, built in 1852. Mother Dear's parents were married in this house on October 12, 1865. And Dutta, as we call her, Fanny Emily Norwood, always said that there were rumors. It's fading out of you. I think we can get it clearer than that. Said that there were always rumors of Yankees coming, but they did not. And this house is a funeral home today. The Watson Funeral Home. It's been totally preserved and restored. I've drugged my grandmother and mom and dad through not too long ago. We went in and told the connection and we toured. But that's the Killen home. Okay, Dad. This is Fanny Emily Norwood. She is Mother Dear's mother. I believe this picture was probably taken around the time she was married on October 12, 1865. These are her two sisters. She descended down the steps in this home that I've just shown you and was married right there in the house. I don't know the sisters' names, only their married names, Miss Dallas Martin and Miss Ed Housen are the names of the sisters. But I think you'll find some of the clothing that they're wearing really interesting and news. Okay, Dad, let's move right along. This is William Henry Norwood. This is to whom she was married on October 12, 1865. One thing that I left out about Grandpa Killen, and I want to tell right now, Grandpa Norwood also fought during the war between the states. And Mom, help me out here with the facts. Grandpa Killen was captured.
Grandpa Killen was captured twice.
Twice.
And was released after being captured the first time. He turned right around and back into the war.
That's right.
And was recaptured and was held captive for 3 months after the end of the war between the
That's
states.
right. And I have a Macon Telegraph at home that's dated 1861 that has an account of this that will also be on view this afternoon. That this was Mother Dear's father, William Henry Norwood. And this picture was probably taken sometime after the war. This is Mother Dear's mother. This is Fanny Emily Norwood. She's the younger woman that I just showed you with the two sisters. This is a picture of her in old age. She lived to be the oldest Confederate widow in the state of Georgia, dying after the age of 90. And she also was quite a historian. I have many of her things, and I'll have a portrait of her hanging in my home that you'll be able to see today as well. Okay, Dad? This is Grandpa Norwood at an older age. This didn't turn out quite as well as I hoped it would, but you know, the bowler hat and everything's kind of a neat thing to see. Okay, we'll move right along. This is their home. Will that clear? This is the Norwood home, and it sat right on Main Street in Perry. And after Dutta died, Mother Dear's mother, the two sections of the house were cut off right here and made into a separate house. So 2 houses were made of this one house. I have also been to this home. It's still standing. There's been a lot of changes. It initially had a grand entry hall that went from the front straight through the home. It's now been separated. The ceilings have been dropped from about 20 feet down to maybe 14 feet. But really enjoyed touring this home. And Mother Dear and Pop were married in this house on February 4th, wait a minute, I'm sorry, September 3rd, 1902, by the Reverend J.W. Simmons. And this is described as being quite a beautiful home in the write-ups about it. It had 3 parlors, one with a grand piano, and my grandmother remembers being in this house. And I also have some furniture. I have a bedroom suit that is from this home that will be also on display. Okay. This is Mother Dear as a child. I doubt that any of you have ever seen this. This is her younger sister Mary, and Mother Dear did outlive all of her siblings, and there were, I'm going to tell you the names of her sisters: Minnie Maud, Nina Lotta, Eunice Manette, Ann Alda, William Henry Norwood Jr. that died, Nelle Kate Norwood, who is our Mother Dear, Mary Lou Norwood, and a second William Henry Norwood Jr. Those were all of her siblings. This is Aunt Annie and Aunt Mary. A lot of Mother Dear's things were specified to go to this sister Mary at her death. And I'm so glad that Mother Dear outlived it, because now we have it. And these are some of the things that you'll get to see. Okay, we'll move along. This is Donna, and this is Mother Dear, and Grandma. Who are we looking at here? Her mom. That's Aunt Minnie. This is Aunt
Nina.
Aunt Nina.
No, that's Aunt Nina.
Yeah, well, you get the idea. And this is William Henry Norwood Jr. right here. Okay? But this was, she did, as I said, live to be over 90 years old. And I have an article that she wrote that was very interesting. And Spear brought a piece that she wrote today as well that everybody can look at. Okay?
Was he that tall or were they that short?
Good question. They were that short, I would say, probably. This is William Jordan Flanders. This is Pop's father. And of course, Pop being George Pierce Flanders, Mother Dear's husband. William Jordan Flanders was a Methodist minister, and he actually died preaching in the pulpit. I'm not exactly sure of the age.
47.
Was he that young? Wow. Wow. But this was really interesting. These pictures, you can see them, they're really neat. They're on thick pieces of cardboard. Have y'all seen these type pictures? But this picture's probably taken before the turn of the century. Okay? This is his wife. This is Nancy Webb Flanders. A lot of people have said that my grandmother bears a resemblance to her. But my grandmother told me she was a very sweet woman, and she lived to be quite old too, didn't she? That's right. So this would be the grandmother of Dwight, Chester, Norwood, and the Flanders tour. Okay. This is a group photograph. This is Pop right here as a boy. This is Grandpa Flanders, of course, William Jordan, Nancy Webb. This is Aunt Flossie. Some of you probably here remember her. And the other names, unfortunately, I don't know. There was a Milton Flanders. There was a Lewis Flanders. Does anybody here know, perhaps?
William Flanders.
Yeah.
And she
But-
got a sister named Ola.
Ola, this must be her right here. But this is a very old photograph, and I'm so glad that, and in case y'all don't know, we are videotaping this, and you will be able to get a copy. Okay? All right, Dad, we'll move to the next picture. This is Pop, George Pierce Flanders. And Pop was born on, I've got it here, February 4th, 1876. He died on January 20th, 1958. This picture was probably taken around the time that he was married to Mother Dear, sometime around 1902. Okay. This is Mother Dear. I believe that this might be her wedding dress, actually. The picture is dated 1902 on the back. And Mr. Spear had an interesting comment that he never remembered Mother Dear having anything but white hair. And as you can see, she had jet black hair in this picture. But this is definitely from where we came. This is Pop in middle age, and probably a lot of you here remember this being the way that he looked when you were children. He was the county school superintendent for Delaware County and well respected in the community. And this is Mother Dear during middle age. She was the postmistress of Scotland here up until 1947. And this picture was probably taken sometime around then, maybe a little earlier. Okay. And this is Pop as an old man. And some of you younger ones, this may be how you remember it. But this picture had to be taken not too soon before he passed away in 1958. And of course, we all remember Mother Dear. And this is Mother Dear the way that I remember her. Mother Dear died prior to turning 102 years old. And she was really just a miraculous person. Up until she died, she still dressed herself. She could still walk with a walker. And she was just incredible. And I think my grandmother was well on the way to the same stardom that Mother Dear had. This is the Flanders home, and this picture was taken right after the house was built. And this house has also survived a lot. This house burned, and it's been fixed up. You can ride by it. It's right on this street behind us here. But there was also another house that the Flanders lived in. The house that my grandmother and her siblings lived in as children is still standing, and someone's living in it. And it's on the corner down here. We can walk out at some point, and I'll show it to you. That was the earliest house, right, Grandma? And then there was another house they lived in that burned, and after that home burned, this was built. And I believe this was built in 1930, 32, somewhere in that range there. This is an interesting picture. This is Pop. And my grandmother remembers this car. This was the family automobile. This car did, will that focus any better there? Maybe not. My grandmother remembers there not being windows in this car. If it rained or if you wanted privacy, there was something like blinds that pulled down or canvases that rolled down. There were not even windows in cars at that time. With the crank on the front of the car. This is a very old picture here. Okay, here we have Mother Dear, Norwood, Dwight, and my grandmother, Emily Darling Flanders. This picture was taken in 1909. I know because that's the year grandmother was born. And I'm not exactly sure where this picture was taken. But it's a rare snapshot. It's not a posed photographer's picture. This is a rare snapshot that I found in my grandmother's attic, actually. Here we have Emily Darling, Dwight Linwood, and Norwood Lewis Flanders. The photographer that made these slides for me commented on this picture and said, the art is just lost in taking this kind of photograph. My grandmother says that the children absolutely hated having to wear this get-up, if you will, that they had to put on. They didn't appreciate it too much, but this picture was taken probably around 1911, sometime in that area. Okay. This is a picture that Aunt Kitty had that we were lucky enough to have with this. Here we have Dwight, and Chester's in the picture now. He came along. This was what my grandmother hated, was these bows she had to wear. And of course, this is Norwood right here. And this is truly a rare picture that we're glad to have documentation of this. Of course, this picture was done at the same time. We have Chester, my grandmother, Emily, Norwood, Yeah. Okay, Dad, we'll move right along. Now we have Rachel in the picture. I thought this was a really cute picture. Peggy sent this to me from Myrtle Beach. And look at the shoes that she's got on. It's just really incredible. And Grandma, this picture was taken in the yard. That was the fence that was around this home. And like I said, you can still see it today. But this is Rachel Helen Flanders. Okay, Dad. My grandmother has always kind of claimed helping raise Rachel. And this picture really brings this to life. This is Sister, as she's affectionately called by the Riles and Marion family. And this is Rachel. And I believe, my mom said this is the post office that you can see in the background right there. So this is a neat picture. And this is them at an older age. My grandmother was a school teacher, and I believe this picture was taken after you started teaching school. Is that right? And Rachel here, and Peggy, as well as the rest of the Marion children, bear a strong resemblance to their
That
mother.
looks just like Mary Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. It really is.
That's her background. Yeah.
Here we have Chester and Rachel. I'm not exactly sure when this picture was taken, but we had it and wanted to put it in. Okay, this is Dwight Linwood Flanders. Dwight was born, well, I obviously don't have my notes together here. Okay, Dwight was born on August 12, 1903, on a Tuesday morning at 2 o'clock. And I have this copy straight out of Mother Dear's Bible. So that's how I know. He was in World War II. He was a part of the Sea Beams. And this, of course, is him in uniform. And I thought this was an appropriate picture. Here we have Norwood Lewis Flanders. Norwood was born on October 21st, 1907 at 2:45. Norwood married Gwendolyn Spear in April of 1932, and of course we know George Spear and Norwood as being a part of that union. But Aunt Gwen always told me that I bear a resemblance to him, and I'm actually named for him. So I think this is a special picture to have here. Okay, Dad. Here we have Emily Darling Flanders Nairn, and she is our first speaker here this morning. This picture was taken in 1928. She grew up during the time of the Flappers and the Roaring Twenties. Grandmother was born on November 2nd, 1909 at 5:45 in the morning. I have a funny story that I want to tell about my grandmother now. During that time, dancing was not allowed. And there was a dance being held in the crane. And my grandmother got smart and decided she would go spend the night with Edith Riles, who was Alan's aunt, and that she would go to this dance. And she went, thought she pulled it off, and somebody stopped Pop in town and said, "I want you to know that Emily had on the prettiest evening gown at that dance." So it backfired right in her face. She was considered one of the most attractive girls in the area, and she actually was Miss Belfair County at some point during that time. Okay, Dad. Then we have William Chester. He was the next child to be born. Chester was born on a Tuesday night at 7:30 on January 20th, 1914. Chester married Kathleen Key, and of course there's Connie. So that's Uncle Chester. And we'll go to the next one. This is Rachel Helen Flanders. Rachel was born on June 20th, 1920, on a Sunday morning at 7:30.
And Norwood, I want to make a comment of how much she looks like my mother.
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's
that's her all
absolutely
over. Yeah.
incredible. It's true. Rachel married John White Marion on May 1940. And from that union, There's Peggy, Lucy, Ann, Ben, and Mary. And she died at a young age, but she was truly beautiful. Really was. 1958, I believe. Okay. This is Norwood in a sporty car here. And this is called a rumble seat, and that's Uncle Dwight there in the back. When I showed this to my grandmother, she said, well, Dwight had a car like that he let me borrow one summer, but surely it's not that one. Look how old it looks, the wheels and everything, but that might be it. That's a 1920s model. I don't know the make of the car. Maybe a real car buff here would know. But,
Well, is that the car that Norwood tried to teach Mother Dear how to drive in?
it's possible. It's very possible. I'm not sure. This picture came out of my grandmother's scrapbook, and there's no information, with it. So, but I thought that was something I definitely wanted to include.
There's something about Mother Dear that for a year she would go to town in a car, but if the Flanders boys drove a truck to town, she had to put her out on the outskirts of town, and she would walk on in because she didn't want to be seen.
That's right. Okay, Dad, now we have the beginning of the Flanders brothers. The Flanders brothers started in spring of 1932. And that 1932 seems to be a great year because my grandmother and William Mann, and I didn't tell with her picture for some reason, my grandmother married William Simeon Mann in 1932. And my mother and my Aunt Kay Rogers, she's deceased, were the products of that union. I don't know why I skipped that. The Flanders brothers started in 1932, and this was the first store that they had. This store was located now where the present Scotland package shop is. Is that the clearest that's going to be? Yeah. Well, you can see this old gas tank. This gas tank, I believe, is the one that's in Uncle Shorty's front yard right now, or one very similar to it that you may want to ride by and check out. Look at the old gas tank there. And the U.S. Post Office was also a part of this same building right here. Does anybody remember this or have anything to... Okay, let's go to the next picture. And of course, we heard about the rolling stores with what Nordy read. And here we have Uncle Chester, and there were 3 stores. And you can see the used Flanders corn mills, and they were called F&F for Flanders Brothers. I'm not sure. Does anybody know who these other 2 gentlemen are?
Sebastian Harmon, the one on the...
This one right here.
I don't know the other.
Yeah, but these are the infamous rolling stores right here. Okay, Dad. Here we have, this was in Kitty's possession. And this is the interior of a rolling store. And you can see Flanders on this bag of cornmeal or flour, I believe it is. They were quite industrious, but this is actually an interior view of a rolling store. I don't know what time this picture was made, but I thought that was really interesting. Here we have another shot. This is Chester Flanders, and you can see a good side shot of, in the back you see the grist mill. And they sold fish, groceries, hardware. And there's some flyers, if you will, out on the tables there that have a whole story in the rolling stores that I had copies made that you could take home. And Nordy brought the original on display. So, okay. Or Andy, I'm sorry. Here's another shot of Chester. He seemed to be in most of the pictures with the rolling stores. I didn't have a picture of Norwood or Dwight with the rolling stores, but I thought that was just a great picture, to show the front of how this vehicle looked. And I don't know how old these trucks were, if they were bought brand new in 1932 or if they were a few years old, but probably several of you here remember seeing these. Okay. And here we do have a great shot of the grist mill. This has since been torn down. It stood for years and years, and I have a sketch that an artist did of this at my house that y'all can see today. But I did want to include this because I thought it was so neat. And look at the old power lines, how they were made at that time. And here is the modern and new Flanders Brothers store. Does anybody here know the date or time that this was started up? This building is still standing. It's now owned by a man who has a heating and cooling business. He called my grandmother one day and said, Miss Mary, we found some things in the attic of this building. And there's a book, and it has a picture of a little girl in it, and it says Emily Yard in Flanders, 1910. That couldn't be you, could it? My grandmother said, yes, it is. And he brought the book with the picture to her, and she got it. He, however, did not give us the cast iron toys that he found up there that belonged to the children, I'm sure.
This is Bob Walker.
Bob Walker.
Let's name names here.
Yeah, we'll go track him down. The Flanders had their own water tower, and I'm sure that, and Chester took this picture. This came out of his scrapbook. He really, we can thank him for so many of these things, but my mom remembers climbing up this water tower, as I'm sure some of the rest of you do too. Was this in Mother Dear's on their property, or?
It was in our backyard.
Norwood's backyard.
Oh, it was in us?
A few hundred yards back that way.
Yeah, see, this is all before my time. I remember climbing Aunt Gwen's antenna. Is that This is the original Scotland Methodist Church, and this church did burn, I believe, in the early 70s. And did it stand on this site right here? Okay. And then this is the church that was built after the battle. So many of you remember going to church here, and I wanted this to be a part of the presentation of Scotland Methodist Church. And now we have a picture of Chester, and this is in the Flanders Brothers store. I believe the one that they had in McCrae. But this may be here in Scotland. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure who that is standing there either, but Mary Holland, her son, was gracious enough to dig up these slides, and this one is one of Russell Holland's that we were real proud to have as a part of this. We wanted to show the children at an older age. And Dad, did you focus that in? And here we have Norwood Flanders as an old age, and this is Mary Holland's husband, Mr. Holland, and you probably remember the grape bottle. Is it still there, Spear?
Yep.
Yeah, it's still there. I can certainly remember that. But this is another one, courtesy of Mary Holland, that I was just very pleased to present this morning. And here we have a view taken from across the lake. I thought this was a great shot. Of course, we all know that Uncle Dwight's cabin burned. It was struck by lightning. But of course, Spirit Flanders still maintains the lake house to this day. It's still in the family. It looks a good bit different. I don't think all these trees are here that you see now, but I thought this was a neat picture. We all have memories. Our last reunion was at the lake house, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And this is a shot that didn't come out too well, but I'll tell you, it says SS Flanders on these life preservers and had all these flags. This must have been some kind of big to-do, maybe a party of some sort. Okay. And this is another shot that Mary Holland's son took, the lake house, that this really hit home to me because this palmetto or Rob, what kind of tree is it?
I think that's a crocus palm, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, that's still there, or it was the last time I was out there. So, and this picture's 30 years old, I'm sure, this slide. Here we have Mother Dear's 100th birthday party, and here we see my grandmother and Dwight Flanders all grown up. This picture was taken right here in this very building. Mother Dear's 100th birthday party, if you'll remember, was in the adjacent room. right over here, and love this picture. Okay, here we have another deer celebrating her 101st birthday. And it's amazing. I remember reading that someone was still alive at 101. She was truly miraculous. And the last picture for the show, I want to do a tribute to Gwen and Kitty. They loved anything to do with family, family history, family gatherings, no matter what it was. And they were two of my favorite people. Does anybody know where they were going so dressed up in this picture? This was also a Kitty's thing. But they had on, you can't see, but they had on floor-length gowns, and they were just the gloves, and they were ready to go. But I want to end the show with them as kind of a tribute to their memory. Does anybody have anything that they want to comment about, or did y'all enjoy that?
Really has done his homework, and I know Lamar and Jane and his sister were in there as well. Thank you, Norwood. I was extremely emotional watching that, especially seeing my mother's picture on the screen. I'm so happy that Mary, my little sister, named her daughter Rachel, who's here with us today. So happy to have that name still. Jane Mann Davidson has written a novel, and it is just wonderful. I've read it, several of us have read it, and anybody who's ever been in Scotland would enjoy reading it. The name of it is Wings of the Morning, and it's fiction, but it's based on her experiences as a child in Scotland. And the central figure in Jane's novel is a 9-year-old girl named Jetty. And in this episode that's going to be read, Jetty's just about to go fishing for the first time with her slightly older cousins, Mac and Stu Jr. Some of you might recognize yourselves in here. Earlier in the story, Mac had wrapped a fish his father and grandfather had caught in a brown paper, and he'd put it in a freezer for reasons known only to himself. The reason is about the circus. Jane, will you read this episode?
The boat on the softball bed, and he's right here, so
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna have to read it.
Do you want the photo? Let me do it.
Keep in mind, I was a city girl now. I was living in the prairie. Just coming to Scotland was coming to country. As he had promised, Mac came by in the middle of the afternoon with a fishing pole fixed up for Jetty. He was also carrying a brown paper bag to keep the worms in, he said. We'll also go fishing in the pump hole. But first we have to grunt for worms, whatever that means. Brandy smiled and told her she would find out soon enough when she would go around to the back of the house where the boys had already begun. She hurried around to the back and found them squatting near the ground. They had put a stick into the ground, and Mac was rubbing the end of the stick with a brick. They told her that the noise the brick made on the stick